Good morning. I've just received the new Resin Starter Kit from Just For You Online UK. And today I want to show you the kit, but I also want to show you how to create with it. So this kit comes with this box and this little pack of epoxy premium resin, which includes 200 grams of hardener and 200 grams of resin, which will be enough to create this tray. So inside the box, you have everything you need to make this tray. We have the actual mold itself and the frame. And later on, if you find that you love this mold as much as I do, I absolutely adore this mold. I've made 4 pieces already with this round one. It exists also as a rectangular one. But later on, you can purchase the frames separately. And if you were ever to damage your mold, you can also purchase the molds, either as a complete set, i.e. those 2 items, or the mold or the frame separately. And as a kit, they make really great presents. So these are the colors that come with the kit. So let's open them with you. And we have the Precious Gold Floating Pigment, which is a metallic. We have the Smoky Quartz Glitter, so we have texture. We then have a white pigment, Smoky Quartz Pigment as a color. And lastly, we have the beautiful Cafe Latte pigment. All these pigments are powders. You also get the Resin Edges Gold Metallic Paint Pen, and this you will use to do your edges in gold if you so wish. On the Just For You website, there is each color individually or as a pack, and they come in 5 colors, and that's the packet. So you've got gold, silver, copper, champagne, and blush. And the other last item in the set is an instruction sheet. It gives you handy tips on safety, on what you will need. The YouTube channel, their advice, helpline, and some instructions on, if you are a beginner, how to do each step. But this tutorial is basically to show you how to create with this new Resin Starter Kit. So I'll mix my resin and we'll start. So I'm going to weigh my resin. I prefer to weigh it rather than measure it in milliliters. So I'm going to be using grams. And for the pour itself, I'm going to put 144 grams of hardener and 160 grams of resin. Make sure that each time you do it, you zero your machine. It's so much easier to look at the number without having to calculate. So I'm zeroing my machine, and now I would like 160 grams of resin. This resin has a 10 to 9 gram ratio between resin and hardener. So for 10 grams of resin, you want 9 grams of hardener. And then you just need to make your calculations accordingly. Now we mix gently and slowly for at least 3 minutes. But at the end of the 3 minutes, we need to check that there are no streaks or lines in our resin. Because if they are, it will not cure properly. So I won't bore you with 4 minutes or more of stirring. Just remember, make sure you do it slow. You scrape the sides, scrape the bottom. Do it for at least 3 minutes and check your pot. If there are lines or streaks, then continue mixing until those lines or streaks are gone. So I will see you back in a few minutes when I have finished mixing my resin. My resin is mixed thoroughly and completely with no streaks or lines in the pot. And now I've got my 4 colors and my glitter. I like to put my glitter in first because I can judge the quantity that I'm going to need, and more specifically, the consistency of that glitter. I don't want it too runny in this particular scenario. So I am putting the glitter in first and adding just a small amount of resin. It's easier to add than to take away. And I'm going to check how much I've got. If I find it's too thick, I can add more resin. If I find it's enough, then I don't need to carry on. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And that's the consistency I want for today. So that's the glitter done. Put it aside. And now I can fill my pots with resin for the colors that I need. I don't want a lot of gold because it spreads very fast. So don't waste your resin on pouring too much gold. It will be a waste. So that's really, it's covering the bottom of the cup, and the rest I can divide between my colors. Make sure you use every little bit of your resin. We don't want to waste any. All the products I am showing you, the kit, the cups, the stirrer sticks, the big cup you've just seen with the pink stirrer, as well as the silicone mat I am working on, come from Just For You Online UK, who have a website and 2 delivery points, one in the UK and one in the United States. So let's grab a color. So that's the floating gold. We now have the white pigment. We have the cafe latte. I'm adding a decent amount of color because I don't want any transparency. And the last color we've got is the smoky quartz. So now, as I did with the resin, I'm going to mix these colors thoroughly, but gently, slowly, scraping the sides, so there are no little specks of unmixed pigment powder in my resin. They are unsightly when you pour, and they are annoying. So everything is ready. We are now ready to pour. I want to reiterate that there is no right and wrong in resin in terms of design. You do exactly what you fancy, where your imagination takes you. Sometimes a design will work, other times it won't. Learn from your lessons, try and remember what you've done wrong or what it is about the finished piece that you don't like, so that next time you can do something a little bit different. So I've got my 4 colors and my glitter, and I'm not going to do anything complicated. I want to mesh the colors in together afterwards so that I don't want really separate colors. So I'm just going to pour them in areas, and then I will mix them. You may look at these colors and immediately have a design in mind. That's fantastic. I've just poured them, and now with my heat gun, I'm going to first of all remove some of these top bubbles, and then I'm going to move this resin around so I achieve a design that I like. So as you can see, I have moved these colors together. Do it slowly. If this is your first time, take your time doing it. Put your heat gun on low or medium and see how the colors gel together. Now, when you're pouring into a round mold in particular, there is an effect that happens whereby the resin is put in the mold, it will push itself to the sides, and then the sides of the mold will push it back into the center. And you can see that happening with this line here. The bigger the mold, the slower that reaction will be, but the smaller the mold, the stronger that reaction will be. So if you want to achieve either glitter lines or gold lines, I tend to wait a good 5-8 minutes, depending on the temperature of your room, for that resin to settle. If I was to put my gold lines on now, they would all end up coming to the center. So right now, I'm just going to heat it very gently with my heat torch to just pop some of these remaining bubbles. If my heat torch wants to work, it's at the end of its legs. Be careful with the edges of your mold. You do not want to burn it. And that's it. And now I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes to let it do its thing before I start putting some gold on. Okay, so it's done most of its settling, and I don't want to wait too long either because I don't want there to be a partial cure. So this is the time where you put your gold, and really wherever you like. we'll start with that now. And going to add some sparkle. The reason why I'm going over the sides is I don't want my lines to start mid-resin. I want them to start right at the beginning. And then we just heat it a little bit to make sure there's no bubbles. And it will also activate the gold, make it pop back to the surface. Check your work, see if you're happy. You can use a toothpick if you wanted to create designs, or you can leave it the way it is. It's very modern. You can really do whatever you want with it. Make sure you check all part of your work to make sure there's no dust or flecks or hair of any kind. And if you do, then if there is, then just remove it with a toothpick. And that's it. It's now going to cure for 24 hours. And then I can do the flood coat on top of it, which I will show you. It's time to flood coat. My tray has cured, and now I have mixed resin and hardener together, and I'm literally going to pour it over the top to finish the tray. And all we do is make sure that the resin has reached every little corner, that there are no holes, and that everything is nicely coated and flooded. The reason for a flood coat, there's a few. If you've had a problem with your piece, it enables you to sand it and then recover with a fresh coat. If you have used texture, leaves, glitter, stones, it covers the texture so that they are smooth and they don't hurt or cut. And the third reason is that extra shine that this flood coat will bring. So I tend to flood coat all of my pieces. You don't have to. It's entirely up to you. But I love that last finish. So I tend to do it to all of my pieces. And you can flood coat inside the mold if you have space, which is the case in this one. Or if you have filled your mold, you can take it out of the mold and do a very light, very thin flood coat of your piece outside of the mold. And now all I'm going to do is give it a quick flick of my heat torch to remove those bubbles. But I'm being careful not to touch the mold with it because I don't want to ruin my mold. So that's it. Check it one last time that there is no dust or specks of any description that have fallen into it when you were working, and it will cure again for 24 hours, where we can demold and do the edges if we so wish. I'm back. This piece is done. It's been created, it's been flood coated, and now we can take it out of the mold, slightly sand the edges if they are a little bit sharp, and then we can gild the edges if we so wish. But quite like the design, it's very different. Okay, so I just feel the edges, and with some rough sandpaper, I literally just go around and lightly sand. You can do it with the Dremel machine, but there's no repair work to do here. It's just literally to smoothen the edges. That's all I'm doing, so that they're not sharp. And there we are. I'll just clean it off. Once you've sanded your piece, make sure it's clean before you start gilding, because a lot of this resin residue and powder will affect and block the pens that you work with. So we've got our brand new pen, metallic gold, and all we do is shake it, mix the ink properly together, and then we are going to activate the pen by pumping it on a piece of paper until the ink falls in, and there it is. And then simply we just gild the top. And there we are. You can do exactly the same to the bottom. So you have 2 lines running. And there we have it. I have a top and a bottom line. And this is what. Just trying to be gentle because I've just done the edges. And this is what it looks like. Isn't that lovely? It's just such a great little frame. It really finishes off the whole piece. So that's it from me. I really hope you enjoyed this. And obviously you can do whatever design. I had a bit of fun with this one to see, I tried something different. Whether you like it or not, it was just an experiment. I'm going to probably do it again and try something different. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.